Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's just afternoon. It's 12:04 here, Pacific time, on February 3rd, 2018. I can hear my kids screaming in there, but it's probably over video games. Confirmed. Yeah, I really wanted to just stop in, make a video, talk about music, talk about how fascinated I am with the fact that some people completely find it passionate within music and others have absolutely no effect. And I've talked about this several times, but it never ceases to amaze me that some people can just not be moved by music at all. Even some, when I was younger, I wasn't a big fan of, say, classical music. I loved classic rock. That's what was classical music to me. But classical music just didn't move me. But I respected it even then. Even when I was young, I respected it for what it was, and I understood the complexity that went into formulating an entire orchestra. Even when I was in my heavy metal days, even a lot of the heavy metal incorporated instrumental, into it. And it's kind of interesting to look at all the different types of music and how they move different groups of people. And I like to love many different styles of music as I can. The music has to be true, though. That's the only thing for me. I can't listen to pop music that's obviously made just for a buck. I'm not going to force myself to, pretend like somebody really means their lyrics. Even a lot of the songs that are made by bands that I love, it's not like the stories that they actually even lived through. Like the Grateful Dead, one of my favorite bands of all time, if not my favorite band of all time. A lot of their songs that weren't even written by them. Some of them were written by Bob Dylan, some were written by Robert Hunter, but even the ones that were written by Garcia, Weir, any of them, a lot of them were stories based on like an old Wild West tale, or a metaphor, archetype, an allegory, a story for the ages, Samson and Delilah, that kind of stuff. And so it doesn't have to be personal to the singer, and it's even better if it's not. But music without singers, some people say, how can you listen to music without vocals? To me, I guess, classical music has resurged as electronic music, whether they like it or not. It's completely different, of course, but the idea of not having words in the music and letting the music take you without being affected by language, the musical language. And the question is, what is musical language? Why do we have the 12-note scales with, 7 majors and 5 minors? Why do we choose certain frequencies over others? Why do we prefer certain sounds over others? And there's a ton of scientific study that goes into this, and I've looked into it all, and it's fascinating. I'd check out some of the, SciShow and shows like that. I can't remember specifically which ones, but they've delved into the science of sound and why some people just don't like music. And that doesn't even include the people who have atonality, which is where all tones sound the same, where once they reach a certain octave they'll move to the next level, but between there's nothing. The brain cannot handle different tones in music, and this will give people listener fatigue, and they'll hate music. They won't even like language, and there's a lot of conditions like this which cause us to not like music. But to me it's fascinating because it seems like it's this driver, kind of like when you put music and you put a couple babies in a room, the baby will start bobbing. Of course, a person may say they're imitating their parents, but if you've observed children, raised children, you know that that's not true. They do it on their own. As soon as they discover it, they're like, even if nobody's in the room or nobody's watching, it's fascinating, And there have been studies now to show that the part of the brain that deals with movement and the part of the brain that deals with music are the same. So you can get your wires crossed in a way to where that's why music moves us. That's why we dance. Look into it. It's really fascinating. I've only learned a little bit about it, but it makes total sense. Music just moves you. And it's because music is processed where movement is processed, and it's really interesting. Science will never be able to, these studies will never explain the deepest reasons of the soul and the meaning of existence or any of this, as far as people want to know. But what it does, it gives us deeper insight into what parts of the brain operate during certain situations. Kind of helps us weed out the things that are, I don't know, explainable versus unexplainable. But music seems to be part of us. It's, you can go back I think they've 100,000 years, if I'm not mistaken, they've found old, Neanderthal flutes and little shells that they would blow on. They were making music, 150,000 years ago, way before we assumed that people had art forms, and it just keeps getting pushed back further and further the more discoveries we make, and we're still so young. I get the feeling that art isn't just a human thing, of course. It's something that historically goes way back, but music the same way. The way that birds sing, it's natural that humans would imitate music. Yeah, I'm kind of stoked. I'm getting ready to go to a concert tonight, actually. That's what made me think of this. My wife told me Phil Lesh was coming, and he's playing at the Crystal Ballroom. Phil Lesh is the bassist for the Grateful Dead, or was, and still is for Dead and Company. And but the tickets were a little spendy, but we decided to do it anyway, because they were sold out, and we had to buy them from somebody else. But it should be a really good show. I love the Grateful Dead, and I love, actually, we already got tickets to Dead and Company in 2 different places out here in the Gorge, and then Eugene, and then we're going to see Lotus pretty soon, and a few other bands. I just love music, any chance I get to listen to music, So anyhow, I'm going to leave it at that. Just a quick jive about music, so I'll talk to y'all later, and have a good day.